The invincible predators. For centuries, the galaxy had been controlled by a group of powerful alien species known as the predators. They ruled with absolute fear, their influence spanning across countless planets and star systems. Their fleets were vast and unmatched, their weapons destructive, and their warriors known for their brutal efficiency. No one had dared to challenge their dominance, and those who tried were quickly wiped out. The predators were proud of their power. They believed they were the most advanced civilization in the entire galaxy. With their high-tech ships, superior weaponry, and fearsome armies, they had wiped out countless other species who stood in their way. Many species had tried to resist them, but all had failed. Over time, the predators became convinced that no one could ever defeat them. The galaxy belonged to them, and nothing would change that. They ruled from the shadows, pulling the strings of every major conflict. Most of the galaxy's species had long been forced into submission, either through fear or brutal conquest. Entire planets had been enslaved, their resources harvested, and their people oppressed. Resistance was rare, and when it did occur, it was swiftly crushed. The predators were not just a physical force. They were a political and social machine. They held power over trade, information, and even the flow of life itself. Their spies were everywhere, ensuring that no one could rise against them without being noticed. Their technology was so advanced that it seemed almost magical, and their war machines were beyond the comprehension of the other races. They had crushed civilizations with ease, and their enemies had learned to fear their name. They thought they had no equal, and they lived by the belief that nothing could ever challenge their empire. Over time, they became complacent, believing that their reign was eternal. Their soldiers were trained to fight with ruthless efficiency, their generals were skilled in the art of war, and their leaders were cunning and manipulative. No one stood a chance against them, or so they thought. In the far corner of the galaxy, however, there was a planet that the predators had long ignored. It was a small, seemingly insignificant world called Earth. The humans who lived there were primitive by galactic standards. They had no advanced technology, no powerful fleets, and no means of defending themselves against a race as powerful as the predators. The predators had long written them off as an unimportant species, too weak to ever pose a threat. But the humans, despite their lack of advanced technology, had something the predators did not account for: an unbreakable spirit. Over the years, humanity had fought countless wars, faced countless hardships, and survived despite all odds. While the galaxy's most powerful species thought humanity was weak, the humans had been preparing. They had been building, learning, and quietly developing their own technology in secret. The predators continued to ignore Earth, thinking that the humans were nothing more than a footnote in the galaxy's history. They were too focused on their own power and expansion to even consider the possibility that this small, insignificant world could ever pose a threat to them. They dismissed humanity as primitive, unimportant, and irrelevant. But the humans were not as weak as the predators thought. As the years passed, they began to advance at a pace the predators had not expected. Earth scientists had discovered new ways of harnessing energy, building new types of spacecraft, and developing technologies that could rival even the most advanced species in the galaxy. Slowly but surely, humanity was developing the ability to challenge the might of the predators. The first signs of trouble came when the humans launched their first long-range exploratory missions into space. The predators laughed at their primitive ships and their seemingly insignificant endeavors. They believed the humans were just another species trying to explore beyond their world, doomed to fail as so many before them had. But then, something unexpected happened. The humans began to learn at an alarming rate. Their ships became faster, more powerful, and more capable of surviving in the harsh conditions of space. They developed advanced weapons, new tactics, and strategies that allowed them to survive in battles with far superior forces. They started to explore farther and farther into space, pushing the boundaries of what they thought was possible. The predators were not paying attention. They were too busy with their own plans of conquest, continuing to subjugate weaker species and expand their empire. They dismissed humanity's advancements as nothing more than a temporary curiosity, believing that the humans would eventually fall like all the other species that had tried to rise up before them. But as humanity's reach expanded, the predators began to notice something strange. They started receiving reports from their scouts, reports of strange new ships traveling farther and faster than they should have been able to. These ships were small, unremarkable by the standards of the galaxy's most advanced species, but they were somehow always one step ahead. And then the first attack came. It was swift, brutal, and unexpected. A small fleet of human ships ambushed a convoy of predator vessels, overwhelming them with sheer speed and precision. The predators had never seen anything like it before. The human ships seemed to appear out of nowhere, striking with incredible force, and then disappearing just as quickly. They were using tactics that the predators had never even considered. The predators were caught off guard. They had never experienced anything like this before. They had always been the hunters, always the ones in control, but now they were the prey. The first battle was a humiliating defeat for the predators. Their ships were destroyed, their forces scattered, and their leaders forced to retreat. It was the first time in centuries that they had been shown vulnerability. The galaxy's greatest predators, once so feared and so powerful, had been shaken to their core by a species they had considered insignificant. They were forced to confront a reality they had never imagined. Humanity was not as weak as they had thought. And now, with humanity's rise, the predators were about to face a challenge unlike anything they had ever known. The galaxy was about to change forever. The predators, still reeling from their first unexpected defeat, scrambled to understand what had happened. Their once impenetrable intelligence network had been breached, and for the first time in centuries, they found themselves unable to track the source of the human attack. How had a species so seemingly primitive, with no advanced technology or fleets, managed to inflict such damage? The galaxy's most feared warlords, sitting in their war rooms, began to feel the sting of vulnerability. Their mighty warships, previously thought to be unbeatable, were now in danger of being outclassed by these unknown human forces. As the news spread throughout the Empire, murmurs of fear and doubt began to echo among the predators. Some of them started questioning the wisdom of dismissing Earth for so long. Had they made a grave mistake? Back on Earth, the human military machine had been rapidly evolving. What started as small skirmishes in the outer reaches of space quickly escalated into something far more dangerous. The humans, whose strength lay not just in their technology, but in their creativity and resolve, began designing new, more powerful ships. They adapted quickly, learning from each victory, refining their strategies, and developing an understanding of their enemies in ways the predators had never expected. A new era had begun, and the predators, for the first time in centuries, were no longer the galaxy's most powerful force. The first sign of humanity's true potential came when Earth's scientists unveiled their breakthrough in energy technology. Using the remnants of the defeated predator ships, they had learned to harness a power source unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. This new energy was capable of powering ships and weapons far beyond what the predators had ever imagined. It allowed for faster-than-light travel and weapons that could pierce the toughest of armor. The first human warships equipped with this new energy technology appeared in the skies of a once dominant predator-controlled planet. This time, the predators did not even have the luxury of retreating. The human ships moved in with surgical precision, cutting through the enemy's defenses like a knife through butter. Within hours, the entire predator fleet was decimated. The shockwaves of humanity's sudden surge in power rippled across the galaxy. Planets that had long been under predator control began to resist. Formerly oppressed species, emboldened by the human strength, rose up in defiance. The predators were losing their grip on their empire. One by one, their worlds began to fall. The predators, who had never been challenged in such a way, were forced to regroup. They could no longer ignore the growing threat of humanity. Their leaders, who had once viewed the human race as insignificant, now saw them as the greatest challenge to their reign. But the predators had a deep history of conquest, and they were not about to surrender without a fight. In a desperate bid to regain control, the predator warlords called for a summit. All their greatest military minds, warlords and strategists gathered to plan humanity's destruction. They could not allow a small, insignificant species to undo the centuries of bloodshed and conquest they had amassed. The galaxy had been theirs for too long. As the summit began, the predators realized that they could no longer defeat humanity through conventional means. The humans were proving to be too resourceful, too quick to adapt. The only way to crush them now would be to crush them with overwhelming force. A force so large and so powerful that it would be impossible for even the humans to survive. But even as they prepared for war on a scale never before seen, the predators knew that humanity's resolve was something they had never encountered before. Humanity, with all its flaws and imperfections, was now the galaxy's greatest threat. They had shattered the predators' confidence and revealed a glaring weakness in the supposedly unstoppable empire. No longer were the humans simply a nuisance. They were a force to be reckoned with, and the predators knew that if they failed to defeat humanity now, their entire empire could crumble. The predators, in their panic, began to rally their forces. Their once impenetrable empire, built on fear and destruction, was crumbling. The humans, who had once been nothing more than a distant, insignificant species, were now the galaxy's most dangerous threat. The predators had long ruled with an iron fist, using their vast armies and superior technology to crush any race that dared challenge them. But now, for the first time, they were faced with an enemy that was not only capable of fighting back but winning. The humans had a relentless drive. Their thirst for survival and justice made them an unstoppable force. Every battle they fought, they learned, adapted, and improved. They had no powerful empire to fall back on, no ancient lineage of warriors. What they did have was ingenuity, creativity, and the will to fight for their future. As the predators began to organize their vast forces, they couldn't shake the nagging feeling that they were losing control. Their spies reported back from every corner of the galaxy that the humans were coming, and they were coming faster than anyone had predicted. The once untouchable predator fleets had now encountered the full might of Earth's military, a force far more advanced than they had ever anticipated. It wasn't just technology that made humanity's warships so deadly. It was their adaptability. While the predators relied on brute strength and overwhelming numbers, the humans were mastering the art of precision strikes and guerrilla tactics. Their ships, designed for maximum speed and maneuverability, could strike quickly and retreat before the enemy could even react. They knew the weaknesses of the predator forces better than the predators themselves, and with their new energy technology, the humans were able to strike devastating blows that left the predators reeling. A quiet terror began to spread among the predator leadership. Their warlords and generals, who had once seen themselves as invincible, were now faced with the harsh reality that they were not. For centuries, they had subjugated countless species, destroying entire civilizations without mercy. But the humans were different. They didn't fear death. They didn't fear destruction. They didn't fear anything. And that made them dangerous. In response, the predators devised a bold new strategy. They decided to send a fleet of their best ships to Earth itself, to end the human threat once and for all. This fleet, a vast armada of the most powerful warships ever constructed, would arrive at Earth's doorstep with one goal: annihilation. The predators believed that once their fleet arrived, the humans would have no chance of survival. They would crush Earth's defenses in a single devastating strike and finally put an end to the human uprising. But they had underestimated one crucial factor: the humans' resolve. While the predators prepared for their final assault, humanity was preparing for their greatest battle. The leaders of Earth's forces knew that this would be the fight of their lives. They knew that they had to stop the predators before they could even land on Earth. But unlike the predators, the humans were not relying solely on brute force. They had learned from their past victories, and now they had the upper hand. Using their newfound energy technology, humanity developed a series of powerful new weapons, capable of taking down even the most advanced predator warships. They built fleets of ships designed specifically to counter the predator's tactics, with shields and weapons that could match the mighty predator forces blow for blow. But the true secret weapon the humans had was something the predators had never considered: unity. For the first time in galactic history, the humans were united, not just as a planet, but as a species. In the face of overwhelming odds, Earth's nations came together, setting aside their differences and pooling their resources. They fought not just for survival, but for their place in the galaxy. And it was this unity, this unwavering resolve, that would prove to be humanity's greatest strength. As the day of the Predator's invasion approached, the galaxy held its breath. The entire universe watched as Earth prepared for its greatest battle. The humans, once considered weak and insignificant, had become the galaxy's last hope against the Predator's tyranny. But the Predators were not going to back down. They had their pride, and they were ready to prove that no one, not even the humans, could stand in their way. But Earth's military leaders, emboldened by the support of their united people, were ready. They knew the fight would be brutal, but they also knew that they could not lose. The fate of the galaxy rested on this single battle, and they would fight until their last breath to ensure that the Predators would never rule again. As the human fleets readied themselves, tensions reached a boiling point. The Predators' fleets, massive and terrifying, began their approach. Their ships, with weapons capable of wiping out entire planets, were poised to strike Earth down. But the humans were not afraid. They knew that they had the advantage in one critical area: the element of surprise. The Predators thought they had already won. They believed that their vast armada would crush any human resistance. But as the two forces clashed in the black void of space, it became clear that the humans were not just fighting for survival. They were fighting for victory. And they were not going to stop until the Predators had been defeated once and for all. As the final battle approached, the tension in space was palpable. The vast Predator armada, poised to strike Earth, began to move towards their target with calculated precision. Their ships, equipped with weapons capable of reducing entire cities to rubble, were eager for the final blow. The Predators had long believed in their own superiority, crushing countless civilizations across the galaxy. They had never encountered a force like humanity's before. On Earth, every nation had set aside their differences. The human fleet was united, a powerful force drawn from every corner of the globe. The world's leaders had come together, knowing that the survival of the entire species rested on their shoulders. They had spent years preparing for this day, refining their technology and training their military forces. They had learned from every battle, every strategy, every mistake. They knew how to win. The humans' technology, once rudimentary in comparison to the Predators, had evolved at an astonishing rate. They now possessed weapons that were capable of tearing through the most advanced Predator shields and armor. But the most terrifying aspect of humanity's military wasn't just their advanced technology, it was their strategy. Unlike the Predators, who relied on sheer force and overwhelming numbers, the humans were known for their cunning. They understood that a head-on assault would lead to disaster. Instead, they planned to outsmart their enemies, using the terrain of space itself to their advantage. Their fleets were equipped with decoys, false signals, and traps. The humans had studied the Predators' movements and tactics for years, learning every weakness. Now, they were ready to exploit them. As the human fleets took their positions in space, Earth's commanders issued their final orders. The ships were arranged in formations designed to confuse and overwhelm the Predator forces. A series of decoy fleets were set to create false impressions of human strength, leading the Predators into a deadly trap. The true human forces, hidden in the depths of space, waited for the perfect moment to strike. The Predators, confident in their impending victory, advanced towards Earth without hesitation. Their vast fleet was relentless, and the humans' small resistance seemed like nothing more than a blip in their path. But as they neared Earth's orbit, something strange happened. A signal, faint and undetectable, began to echo through the dark expanse of space. The predators were used to dominance, to having the universe bow before them. But now, for the first time, they were unsure. This was not a sign of weakness, but of something far more dangerous, an unknown power. The first wave of predators moved into position, eager to strike. They unleashed a barrage of firepower, their weapons tearing through space towards the human fleets. But instead of the devastation they expected, they encountered resistance they had never faced before. The humans fought back with precision, hitting their targets with deadly accuracy. The predator ship shields flared, struggling to withstand the onslaught. But this was just the beginning. Hidden in the shadows, the main human fleet launched their attack. With surprising speed and agility, the human ships broke through the predators' defensive lines. Their weapons fired in synchronized bursts, tearing through the predator armada with shocking effectiveness. It was clear that the predators had underestimated the humans. They had expected an easy victory, but now they were faced with a nightmare. The predators began to panic. Their commanders, seasoned in countless battles, couldn't comprehend how their once invincible fleet was faltering. The humans were everywhere, striking from unexpected angles, using their knowledge of predator tactics to outsmart them at every turn. The predators, who had once been the greatest threat in the galaxy, were now fighting for their survival. The battle raged on, and the predators found themselves losing ground. The human fleets continued to press the attack, their ships weaving in and out of the chaos, always one step ahead of the predators. For every predator ship that fell, humanity's resolve grew stronger. The tides of war were turning, and the predators began to realize that they were not the ones in control anymore. Amidst the chaos, a predator warlord watched the battle unfold from his command ship. He had seen the rise and fall of countless civilizations, but nothing had prepared him for the sheer determination of humanity. He knew that if they did not act quickly, their empire would fall. Desperation began to creep into the predator ranks. They had never faced an enemy like this, an enemy that didn't back down, that didn't surrender, that fought with everything they had to protect their world. In the heat of the battle, the human fleet's flagship, a massive ship powered by the most advanced energy sources in the galaxy, fired its main weapon. The beam of energy cut through the predator ships with deadly precision, ripping through their shields and hulls with ease. The predator warlord watched in disbelief as his fleet was torn apart, one ship after another. The humans were no longer just fighting for their survival. They were fighting to obliterate the very heart of the predator empire. And with every predator ship that fell, humanity's victory seemed more and more inevitable. The warlord's thoughts raced. What had seemed like an easy conquest was now spiraling out of control. His forces were losing, and the humans were closing in on the final blow. But he wasn't ready to give up. He called for reinforcements, desperate to salvage what was left of his army. It was clear to him now, this battle would decide the fate of the galaxy. The humans had come for him, and they wouldn't stop until his empire was destroyed. As the battle continued to unfold, the universe watched. For centuries, the predators had ruled with fear, their empire seemingly unstoppable. But now, a new force had emerged, humanity. The galaxy's greatest predators had underestimated them, and now they were paying the price. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, and the humans were determined to win. The final confrontation was fast approaching, and no one knew what the outcome would be. But one thing was certain: the predators would never be the same, and neither would the galaxy. The battle was in full swing, and the predators were starting to realize that their once invincible empire was faltering. What had begun as a seemingly routine conquest had turned into a nightmare they could not escape. The once fearsome predators, masters of their domain, now found themselves on the defensive. Humanity had come out of nowhere with an unpredictable ferocity that shook the very foundations of the galaxy. On the human side, the tide was shifting in their favor. The strategic brilliance of their commanders, the effectiveness of their technology, and the resolve of their soldiers had pushed the Predator forces back. What had once seemed like an unstoppable force was now stalling, and the humans were taking full advantage. Human fleets continued to strike from all angles. The Predators, accustomed to overpowering any force they faced, were now forced into a defensive posture they were not used to. It was as if every human ship was a shadow, always slipping away just before the Predators could land a decisive blow. The humans had mastered guerrilla tactics, striking fast and hard, then vanishing before the Predators could retaliate. The human flagship, the Valiant, led the charge. Its sleek design was a testament to years of innovation, a symbol of humanity's ability to rise against seemingly insurmountable odds. Its weapons were precise, powerful, and deadly, each shot fired with purpose. The Predator ships, even with their formidable armor and firepower, were no match for the human strategy. One by one, the Predator vessels began to fall, each explosion sending ripples through the dark void of space. But even in the face of mounting losses, the Predators were not ready to give up. Their commanders were desperate to turn the tide. They ordered their remaining forces to concentrate their fire on the Valiant, the flagship that had become the symbol of humanity's strength. If they could destroy it, perhaps they could strike fear into the human fleets and buy time to regroup. The Predators' focus on the Valiant was their first major mistake. Human commanders saw the shift in the Predators' tactics and quickly adapted. Knowing that the Predators were now overly concentrated on eliminating their flagship, the humans began to implement a new strategy. A few key ships began to draw the Predators' attention, while the bulk of the fleet prepared for a devastating surprise. The Predators' response was exactly what humanity had hoped for. As the human fleet danced around the Predator forces, it became clear that the Predators were losing their grip on the situation. The Predators' once immense fleet, once brimming with confidence, now seemed like a collection of disorganized ships, each fighting for survival. Human fighters swarmed the Predators' capital ships, darting in and out, launching torpedoes, and causing massive explosions. The massive, imposing warships of the Predators were now like wounded beasts, struggling to defend themselves against an enemy they could not predict. Every shot fired from their ships seemed desperate, each explosion a sign that their power was waning. At the heart of this chaos was Commander Hannah Cole, the leader of humanity's united fleet. She stood at the helm of the Valiant, watching as the Predators began to retreat. She had led humanity through this fight with unwavering determination, her strategies proving successful at every turn. But this victory, this overwhelming push against the Predators, was not the end. It was only the beginning. "We've got them on the run," she said, her voice steady. "But we can't let up now. This battle isn't over until we've completely shattered their forces. Keep pushing forward. The galaxy must see that humanity will never be crushed." The human fleet followed her orders without hesitation. The tide had turned, and they knew they couldn't stop now. Every battle, every strategy, had led them to this moment. The Predators, once the most powerful empire in the galaxy, were now in retreat, their great ships becoming nothing more than wreckage in the vastness of space. But as the humans celebrated their newfound advantage, something far more dangerous was brewing. In the depths of the Predator fleet, the High Command had activated their secret weapon, their last hope of reclaiming their lost glory. A weapon so powerful that it could obliterate entire fleets in an instant. It had been kept hidden for years, developed in the darkest corners of the galaxy. And now, as their empire crumbled, the Predators were ready to use it. It was a weapon of unimaginable power, a massive energy cannon capable of turning entire planets into dust. But it came with a heavy cost. The energy required to activate the weapon would drain the remaining resources of the Predator fleet, and once fired, it would leave them vulnerable. The Predators had no choice but to risk it all. Back on Earth, the human fleet was still pushing forward, unaware of the weapon that the Predators were about to unleash. But Commander Cole had a sense that something was wrong. She could feel the shift in the air, the tension that told her the Predators were not done yet. She didn't know what they had planned, but she knew it was coming. "Brace yourselves," she said over the communications channel. "Something big is coming." And then, without warning, the sky seemed to explode. A massive beam of light shot across space, traveling at the speed of light. It was a weapon unlike anything the humans had ever seen. It was as if the very stars themselves had been ripped apart. The beam tore through the human fleets with terrifying speed, vaporizing anything in its path. For a moment, everything seemed lost. The humans watched in horror as their ships were decimated. The very forces they had worked so hard to build were now being reduced to nothing in the blink of an eye. Commander Cole's heart sank as she saw the devastation unfold before her. But despite the overwhelming odds, she refused to give up. Humanity's spirit would not be broken so easily. "Return fire," she ordered, her voice a quiet command. "We're not done yet." Even as the Predator weapon tore through their ranks, the humans fought back with every ounce of strength they had. But the next move in this battle would not be up to technology. It would come down to something even more powerful: the will to survive. And humanity's will was stronger than anything the Predators could throw at them. The war was not over yet. The aftermath of the Predators' devastating weapon strike left the human fleet in disarray. The galaxy had never seen such a powerful weapon, an energy beam that obliterated entire ships in an instant. The skies had been filled with fire and destruction, and for a brief moment, it seemed as if humanity's fight for survival would end there, crushed under the might of the Predators. But humanity had always been a force that refused to bow to defeat. Even in the face of overwhelming odds, they found a way to fight back. The remnants of the human fleet regrouped, pulling together the scattered ships and soldiers that had survived the blast. Commander Hannah Cole stood resolute on the bridge of the Valiant, watching as her fleet slowly reformed. Her eyes were hard, her mind calculating. "We've lost over half our fleet," she said, her voice firm. "But we're still standing, and as long as we stand, we fight." Her words were more than just a rallying cry. They were a promise. Humanity had lost ships, soldiers, and allies, but they had not lost their resolve. And in that resolve lay their greatest strength. The Predator forces, for all their power, had made a fatal mistake. They had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt, to learn, and to endure. The Predators thought they had broken the human spirit, that they had dealt a crushing blow that would leave Earth's forces begging for mercy. But instead, humanity had only grown more determined. The Predators knew their weapon had hit hard, and they believed it would break the humans. But there was something the Predators didn't understand. Humanity did not know how to give up. It was a trait that had served them throughout their history, from the earliest days on Earth to the spacefaring age. And now, in the heart of the galaxy, humanity's spirit was their true weapon. While the Predator forces celebrated their success, humanity's remaining forces began to prepare. The survivors from every ship that had fallen gathered at Earth's last stronghold, the deep space station known as Fortress Echo. It was humanity's final line of defense, a station built to withstand the worst attacks. There, the remnants of the fleet began to plan their next move. The stakes were higher than ever, but for the first time in weeks, hope began to flicker once again. Fortress Echo was humanity's last chance. It was here that they would make their final stand against the Predators, the very Predators who had shattered their fleets and threatened to erase them from the galaxy. This was it, the last battle. Commander Cole met with her top strategists, their faces grim but resolute. The war had taken its toll on all of them, but they had no choice but to continue. Every ship, every soldier, every piece of technology would be part of this final push. The Predators had underestimated the human spirit, and they would soon learn that humanity had one final trick up its sleeve. "We're not running anymore," Cole said, her voice cold and determined. "We will make them pay for every ship, every life they've taken from us. This ends now." The human fleet, though diminished, was not broken. A new plan was set into motion, one that would take the fight directly to the heart of the Predator's power. The Valiant, the human flagship, would lead the charge once again. But this time, it would be different. The Predator's greatest weapon, their energy cannon, was still operational. They knew the humans would come for them, and they were ready. But humanity had learned from their past mistakes, and they had developed a countermeasure, a weapon so secret that only the most trusted members of the fleet knew of its existence. It was called the Phoenix Protocol. The Phoenix Protocol was a devastating EMP device, capable of disabling the Predator's weapon systems and rendering their ships defenseless. The catch: it had to be deployed directly into the heart of the Predator fleet. It was a risky mission, one that could end in total failure, but if it succeeded, it would neutralize the Predator's advantage. As the final pieces of the plan came together, the human fleet prepared for what could very well be their last fight. They knew the cost of failure was extinction, but they also knew that the only way to win was to keep fighting. Humanity had learned the hard way that they could not win this war by strength alone. They had to outthink the Predators, outmaneuver them, and outblast them. And it was with that determination that they made their final approach to the Predator homeworld. The silence of space was deafening as the human fleet moved toward their target. Every ship was in position, ready for the battle that would determine the fate of the galaxy. Commander Cole gave one last order before the attack began. "Now or never," she said, a quiet whisper over the communications channel. "For Earth. For humanity." As the fleet closed in on the Predator homeworld, the final battle was about to begin. The tension in space was unbearable as humanity's fleet descended upon the heart of the Predator Empire. The calm void was shattered by the sounds of ships preparing for battle, engines humming and weapons charging. Every human knew that this would be their last stand. This fight would determine if humanity would survive or fall to the might of the Predators. Commander Hannah Cole stood at the helm of the Valiant, staring out at the vast expanse of space before her. Her hands were steady on the controls, but inside, her heart raced. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily on her shoulders. She wasn't just leading a fleet. She was leading the survival of her entire species. The final mission had begun, and there was no turning back. "We're almost there," she said, her voice cold and resolute. "Keep your wits sharp and remember the plan. The Phoenix Protocol will be our salvation. We go in, hit the heart of their fleet, and we get out. No hesitation." Her crew, though battered and weary from the endless battles, nodded in agreement. They knew what was at stake. The humans had lost so much, countless ships, soldiers, and allies, but they still had one thing the Predators couldn't take from them: their will to fight. Meanwhile, on the Predator flagship, the mood was one of arrogance. Their leader, the Predator Overlord, stood before a massive holographic map of the galaxy, watching as human ships entered the system. He was confident. His forces had wiped out nearly half of humanity's fleet already. The humans were nothing more than an annoyance to be dealt with. They had no hope against the might of his armada. "Let them come," he growled, his voice deep and menacing. "They will learn that no one challenges the Predators and survives." He turned to his lieutenants, each of them standing in silent awe of his power. "Prepare the energy cannon. We'll destroy them in one blow. Let them think they have a chance." The Predator's most fearsome weapon, the energy cannon, was ready to fire once again. It could obliterate entire fleets in a single shot, and the Overlord believed it would be enough to crush the last remnants of humanity. He had no idea what was about to hit him. As the two fleets drew closer, the tension between them became palpable. Humanity's ships moved with precision, and Commander Cole watched from the command deck as the Valiant led the charge into the heart of the Predator armada. The Predator's ships were massive, each one a terrifying testament to their strength and power. But humanity wasn't afraid anymore. The first shots rang out, and the battle began in earnest. Energy beams flashed across the sky, ships swerved and dodged, and the roar of battle filled the silent void. The humans were outnumbered, but they fought with everything they had. They had learned from their mistakes, and they knew that they had no choice but to keep pushing forward. Humanity's goal was clear: get to the heart of the Predator fleet and deploy the Phoenix Protocol. It was a long shot, but it was their only chance. As the Valiant barreled through the chaos, the crew knew that the fate of the galaxy rested on their shoulders. The human fleet's ships, though smaller and less powerful than the massive Predator warships, were agile. They darted between the colossal Predator ships, evading fire and returning it with deadly accuracy. Commander Cole's heart pounded in her chest as the battle raged on. They were so close now. And then a voice came over the comms. An unexpected and urgent message from the scout ship ahead. "Commander Cole, the energy cannon is charging. They're targeting us. You need to move fast." Cole's face hardened. "All ships make evasive maneuvers. Get as close as you can to their flagship. We need to deploy the Phoenix Protocol now." The human fleet surged forward, using their speed and smaller size to slip past the Predator ships, coming within range of the massive flagship. The Predator fleet's energy cannon was nearly charged, and it was only a matter of moments before it would fire again. Then, in the midst of the chaos, something incredible happened. The Valiant broke through the enemy lines and made a direct assault on the Predator flagship. The sheer audacity of humanity's maneuver left the Predators stunned for a brief moment. Commander Cole led her crew with unwavering focus, giving the order to deploy the Phoenix Protocol. The EMP device, hidden within the flagship's belly, was launched directly into the heart of the Predator's flagship. Everything went silent. For a moment, it seemed as if time itself had frozen. Then, the Predator's weapon systems flickered and shut down. The energy cannon, their most powerful weapon, went dark. The flagship trembled as their entire fleet began to lose power, their ships drifting helplessly through space. "Now," Cole shouted over the comms, and the human fleet pounced. With the Predator fleet crippled, humanity launched their final attack. The humans had one shot at victory, and they were determined to make it count. They fought with all their remaining strength, and despite the overwhelming odds, the Predators were finally beaten. The empire that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries was crumbling, its fleets scattered and defeated. In the aftermath, as the last of the Predator ships were destroyed or folded into the unknown, humanity stood victorious. The galaxy had witnessed an unimaginable shift in power. The Predators, once thought unstoppable, had fallen. And humanity had shattered their empire. Commander Cole stood at the helm of the Valiant, staring at the wreckage of the battle. The cost of victory had been high. So many had fallen, but the survivors had proven that humanity could not be ignored. They had fought for their survival and had won. The Predators had underestimated humanity, and that had been their downfall. Humanity had proven, once again, that they could never be written off. And as Commander Cole looked out into the vastness of space, she knew that this victory was only the beginning. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson. When humanity enters the fight, nothing can stand in their way. The stars themselves might have once been a symbol of the Predator's dominance, but now, those stars were a witness to humanity's power. The galaxy would never be the same again.